A valley is a low area between hills, often with a river running through it. In geology, a valley-dale is a depression that is longer than it is wide. The terms U-shaped and V-shaped are descriptive terms of geography to characterize the form of valleys. Most valleys belong to one of these two main types, or a mixture of them, with respect to the cross-section of the slopes or hillsides. Valley terminology. A valley in its broadest geographic sense is also known as a dale. A valley through which a river runs may also be referred to as a vale. A small, secluded, and often wooded valley is known as a dell, or in Scotland as a glen. A wide, flat valley through which a river runs is known in Scotland as a strath. A mountain cove is a small valley, closed at one or both ends, in the central or southern Appalachian Mountains, which sometimes results from the erosion of a geologic window. A small valley surrounded by mountains or ridges is sometimes known as a hollow. A deep, narrow valley is known as a combe. Similar geological structures, such as canyons, ravines, gorges, gullies, and kloofs, are not usually referred to as valleys. See also, chine. A valley formed by erosion is called an erosional valley. A valley formed by geologic events such as drop faults of the rise of highlands is called a structural valley. River valleys. A valley formed by flowing water, or river valley, is usually V-shaped. The exact shape will depend on the characteristics of the stream flowing through it. Rivers with steep gradients, as in mountain ranges, produce steep walls and a bottom. Shallower slopes may produce broader and gentler valleys. However, in the lowest stretch of a river, where it approaches its base level, it begins to deposit sediment and the valley bottom becomes a floodplain. Some broad V examples are North America, Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, and others in Grand Canyon NP. Europe, Austria, narrow passages of upper in-valley, affluents of the NNs. Switzerland, NAPF region, Zurich Oberland, Engadin. Germany, affluents to the middle reaches of Rhine and Mosel. Some of the first human complex societies originated in river valleys, such as that of the Nile, Tigris, Euphrates, Indus, Ganges, Yangtze, Yellow River, Mississippi, and arguably Amazon. In prehistory, the rivers were used as a source of fresh water and food, as well as a place to wash and a sewer. The proximity of water moderated temperature extremes and provided a source for irrigation, stimulating the development of agriculture. Most of the first civilizations developed from these river valley communities. Vale. In geography, a vale is a wide river valley, usually with a particularly wide floodplain or flat valley bottom. In southern England, vales commonly occur between the escarpment slopes of pairs of chalk formations, where the chalk dome has been eroded, exposing less resistant underlying rock, usually claystone. Glacial valleys. There are various forms of valley associated with glaciation that may be referred to as glacial valleys. U-shaped valley. A valley carved by glaciers is normally U-shaped. The valley becomes visible upon the recession of the glacier that forms it. When the ice recedes or thaws, the valley remains, often littered with small boulders that were transported within the ice. Floor gradient does not affect the valley's shape. It is the glacier's size that does. Continuously flowing glaciers, especially in the Ice Age, and large-sized glaciers carve wide, deep incised valleys. Examples of U-shaped valleys are found in every mountainous region that has experienced glaciation, usually during the Pleistocene ice ages. Most present U-shaped valleys started as V-shaped before glaciation. The glaciers carved it out wider and deeper, simultaneously changing the shape. This proceeds through the glacial erosion processes of glaciation and abrasion, which results in large rocky material being carried in the glacier. A material called boulder clay is deposited on the floor of the valley. As the ice melts and retreats, the valley is left with very steep sides and a wide, flat floor. A river or stream may remain in the valley. This replaces the original stream or river and is known as a misfit stream because it is smaller than one would expect given the size of its valley. Other interesting glacially carved valleys include Yosemite Valley, side valleys of the Austrian river Salzach for their parallel directions and hanging mouths. Some Scottish glens full with bushes and flowers. That of the St. Mary River in Glacier National Park in Montana, USA. Tunnel Valley. A tunnel valley is a large, long, U-shaped valley originally cut under the glacial ice near the margin of continental ice sheets such as the now covering Antarctica and formerly covering portions of all continents during past glacial ages. A tunnel valley can be up to 100 kilometers long, 4 kilometers wide, and 400 meters deep. Tunnel valleys were formed by subglacial erosion by water. They served as subglacial drainage pathways carrying large volumes of meltwater. The cross-sections exhibit steep-sided flanks similar to fjord walls, and the flat bottoms are typical of subglacial glacial erosion. Meltwater Valley in northern Central Europe. The Scandinavian ice sheet during the various ice ages advanced slightly uphill against the lie of the land. As a result, its meltwaters flowed parallel to the ice margin to reach the North Sea basin, forming huge, flat valleys known as wide.The. Unlike the other forms of glacial valley, these were formed by glacial meltwaters, transition forms and valley shoulders. Depending on the topography, the rock types and the climate, a lot of transitional forms between V-U and plain valleys exist. The bottoms can be broad or narrow, but characteristic is also the type of valley shoulder. The broader a mountain valley, the lower its shoulders are located in most cases. An important exception are canyons, where the shoulder almost is near the top of the valley slope. In the Alps, e.g., the Tyrolean Valley, the shoulders are quite low. Many villages are located here because the climate is very mild. Even in winter when the valley's floor is completely filled with fog, these villages are in sunshine. In some stressed tectonic regions of the Rockies or the Alps, the side valleys are parallel to each other, and additionally they are hanging. The brooks flow into the river in form of deep canyons or waterfalls. Usually this fact is the result of a violent erosion of the former valley shoulders, a special genesis found also at aretes and glacial cirques, at every Scottish glen, or in a northern fjord. Hanging valleys. A hanging valley is a tributary valley that is higher than the main valley. They are most commonly associated with U-shaped valleys when a tributary glacier flows into a glacier of larger volume. The main glacier erodes a deep U-shaped valley with nearly vertical sides, while the tributary glacier, with a smaller volume of ice, makes a shallower U-shaped valley. Since the surfaces of the glaciers were originally at the same elevation, the shallower valley appears to be hanging above the main valley. Often, waterfalls form at or near the outlet of the upper valley. Glaciated terrain is not the only site of hanging streams and valleys. Hanging valleys are also simply the product of varying rates of erosion of the main valley and the tributary valleys. The varying rates of erosion are associated with the composition of the adjacent rocks in the different valley locations. The tributary valleys are eroded and deepened by glaciers or erosion at a slower rate than that of the main valley floor. Thus, the difference in the two valleys' depth increases over time. The tributary valley, composed of more resistant rock, then hangs over the main valley. The valley floors. Usually the bottom of a main valley is broad, independent of the U or V shape. It typically ranges from about 1 to 10 kilometers in width and is commonly filled with mountain sediments. The shape of the floor can be rather horizontal, similar to a flat cylinder, or terraced. Side valleys are rather V than U-shaped. Near the mouth, waterfalls are possible if it is a hanging valley. The location of the villages depends on the across-valley profile, on climate and local traditions, and on the danger of avalanches or landslides. Predominant places on terraces or alluvial fans if they exist. Historic siting of villages within the main stem valleys, however, have chiefly considered the potential of flooding. Hollows. A hollow is a small valley or dry stream bed. This term is commonly used in New England, Appalachia, Ozarks, Arkansas and Missouri to describe such geographic features. In rural areas, it may be pronounced as hollow. Hollows may be formed by river valleys, such as Mansfield Hollow, or they may be relatively dry clefts with a notch-like characteristic in that they have a height of land and consequent water divide in their bases. Famous valleys: Abara Valley, Barossa Valley, Cork Valley, Central Valley, Dalen, Telemark, Dang Valley, Danube Valley, Death Valley, Fraser Canyon, Fraser Valley, Glencoe, Grand Canyon, Great Glen, Gugbrand Valley, Hallingdalen, Hell's Gate, Heddle, Hudson Valley, Hunter Region, Hunza Valley, Hart Valley, Ilara, Turkey, Indus Valley, Iron Gate, Jordan Valley, Kargan Valley, Kathmandu, Las Vegas Valley, Lauterbrunnen Valley, Little Cottonwood Creek Valley, the Loire Valley with its famous castles, Valley of the Moon, San Juan, Argentina, Mid Telemark, Monument Valley, Nan Francon, Napa Valley, Neelam Valley, Nile Valley, New Medellin, Okanagan Valley, Ottawa Valley, Palo Duro Canyon, Panchia Valley, Upper Rhine Valley or Upper Rhine Plain, and Old Graben System, Rhone Valley from the Matterhorn to Grenoble and Lyon, Rio Grande Valley, Romsdalen, St. Lawrence Valley, the most densely populated region of Canada, San Fernando Valley, Setis Dal, Shenandoah Valley, Silicon Valley, Sonoma Valley, South Wales Vallis, Swat Valley, Valley of Flowers, Valley of the Gods, Valley of the Kings, Valley of Mexico, also known as El Valle de Mexico, see Mexico City, Valley of the Sun, Vestfjorddalen, Willamette Valley, Jordan Rift Valley, Osterdalen, Rift Valleys. Rift valleys, such as the Albertine Rift, are formed by the expansion of the Earth's crust due to tectonic activity beneath the Earth's surface.